Leadership is an art of motivating people to act towards achieving a common goal. A leader creates an inspiring vision of the future, motivates and inspires people to engage with that vision. With the leadership units we have studied until now, we have known that the responsibility of leadership is not to come up with all the ideas, but to create an environment in which great ideas can thrive. There is a quote by Ronald Reagan which I really like and which I think is very true. It goes like this: the greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He's the one that gets the people to do the greatest things. Imagine any situation when there is an influence of a bad leader. The consequences can range from chaos to inertia, indecisiveness to arguments. So, there is a need of good leaders in the world today to accomplish more, to find more answers, to solve more problems, and bring peace and harmony in the world. As we know that the leadership capabilities are made, can be practiced, and not born, like everyone else, I'm also in the quest of unleashing my full potential and becoming a great leader. Okay, now let's look at the world today. The world is a unified place now, and people can reach everywhere with just a touch. There are no limitations at all. Thanks to the technology, the world is moving like never before, and all of us around the globe are more connected. Globalization has changed the times, and technology have made it extremely impossible for any group of people to live without interacting with others outside the group. People of different cultural and geographic backgrounds come together in school, workplace, offices, sports, etc. The importance of diversity has been understood and have been applied by big companies like Facebook, Microsoft, who believe in the talents and capability of people. But with this cultural merger, there will be some difficulties and differences. How do we deal with people of different cultural backgrounds or geographic locations? That's a major issue for the companies who are trying to acquire new businesses in different locations. And also I, in my lifetime, will have to work in different countries with different people. So I took the Globe Smart assessment to see where do I fall into the 5 dimensions of culture based on how I was brought up and with my cultural influences. Globe Smart shows where I stand in the following dimensions: independent interdependence, egalitarianism status, risk or certainty, direct or indirect, task or relationship. So looking at my profile, I'm more relationship oriented than task oriented. So I prioritize relationships more rather than accomplishing tasks on time. I communicate indirectly rather than being direct. I give feedbacks in indirect manner rather than being really direct or hurting their feelings and emotions. So I customize for each and every person based on their behaviors. When it comes to taking risks, I tend to do a whole background check before making any decisions. So I fall into the certainty spectrum of this level. And I have a balanced mindset on independency and interdependency. When it comes to status and egalitarianism, I value people on the basis of the people they are rather than valuing them over the materials or the status they have. So these are the countries which I'm comparing it with my profile. India and Japan are very close to where I come from, that is Nepal, and United States and Germany are at the opposite side of where I am from. So let's go to India first. India is a country very rich in culture and religion. The Indian society is collectivistic and promotes social cohesion and interdependence. So in India, the self is defined relative to others. It is concerned with belongingness, dependency, empathy, and reciprocity, and is focused on small selective in-groups at the expense of out-groups. Relationships with others are emphasized, while personal autonomy, space, and privacy are concerned secondary. As you can see the difference in style of my and the Indian culture, we see a huge gap between independent and interdependent and egalitarianism and status. So the most challenging for me would be the interdependent and status dimension over others. Indians require more input from others when making decisions, and they offer fewer personal opinions and be more cautious in expressing disagreement. So the challenge for me would be to switch my style in order to match with them. So I will have to avoid emphasizing on the accomplishments that I have gathered or my personal backgrounds, so that they don't see me as selfish and arrogant. And while I'm presenting information, I will have to periodically ask for questions, not wait until the end of the presentation to ask questions, so that they clarify in between. When giving and receiving feedbacks, group recognition and rewards may be more effective than the individual ones. The least challenging one would be on the relationship dimension, because I'm also from a culture where relationship is more prioritized. Now let's travel to Japan. Japan is very rich in art and culture. In Japan, life is art. The attention and beauty and detail can be readily seen in everything from their hand-embroidered kimonos and the perfect makeup and clothes of the geisha. Japanese society has been portrayed as being essentially having a class structure in which very tiny elite groups and underclass bracket an enormous number of middle-class people. One of the most important determinants of social stratification is educational attainment. Japanese people refer to a credential society, and educational credentials have often been regarded as the most important criteria for employment and marriage, particularly among the urban middle classes. There is a significant gap between my culture and Japanese culture in all of the aspects. Let's start from the bottom. One of the most important things to remember when doing business with a Japanese person is that you may distinguish them as an individual, but they may regard themselves as a representative or spokesperson of their company. Even within teams, each individual has a different specialty. Even when they're working together, they are unlikely to make a decision based on any single answer. The purpose for them for forming a team is to gather information, but not judgment. They use very indirect way of communicating. They value status more. They're more interdependent. And so the most challenging dimension for me would be the certainty dimension. This shows that the Japanese people are less willing to take risks than me. They spend more time building relationships, and they are not able to change quickly. Another challenge for me would be to be more relationship oriented and be more interdependent when working. To overcome these challenges, what I need to realize is that the employees or the business partners will be very slow in opening up about their real problems and challenges. So I have to spend time on socializing with my employees and business partners. For example, I would have to allow a few moments of social conversation to pass before actually mentioning about the business that we are doing. Another example would be to giving a small gift as an appreciated gesture, presenting business cards so that I seem friendly to them. While giving feedback, what I can do is to give feedback through a third party who is very close to the feedback recipient, so that they can deliver the message more tactfully than I will give. Now, let's travel to Germany. I had a different picture of Germany in my head before, but since I'm studying with a German girl, I found it very different from what I had imagined. So that's why I'm taking Germany as my country of interest. So in Germany, high priority is on structure, privacy, and punctuality. The German people embrace the values of thriftiness and hard work and industriousness, and there is great emphasis on making sure that the trains run on time. Germans are people who strive for perfectionism and precision in all aspects of their lives. They do not admit faults, even jokingly, and rarely hand out compliments. Time, therefore, is managed very carefully, and calendars, schedules, and agendas must be respected. At first, their attitude may seem unfriendly, but there is a keen sense of community and social conscience and a desire to belong. Looking at the comparison between my culture and Germany, there is a huge difference between direct and indirect communication and task and relationship orientation. So I would like to focus on these two dimensions. Like I just mentioned, they are very straightforward and they strive for perfectionism. They communicate very directly. I fall way behind the directness, so it will be a challenge for me to live it up to the German style. I have to make clear exactly what I want to know and why. I have to respond very specifically and avoid indirect hints. I should not avoid confrontation. When it comes to conflict resolution, the addressing should be done very directly, and the feedback should not be given through a third party, just like with the Japanese culture, because it may be interpreted as being sneaky or stabbing someone in the back. They value professionalism, so any demonstration of emotions may seem inappropriate for them in a business context. To blend into the task culture of German, I have to, for example, be very clear about the objectives of a team if I'm working in one. And there should be clear timelines and division of responsibilities within the team. Now let's travel to United States. From when I was a child, I've always wanted to go to United States and live and work there. So this was an interesting insight for me to see how will I fit into the American culture that I've always wanted to work in. United States is one of the most culturally diverse countries in the world. United States is sometimes described as a melting pot in which different cultures have contributed their own distinct flavors to American culture. Just as cultures from around the world have influenced American culture, today American culture influences the world. Individualization is the life to the American culture. Most American culture do not believe that there is a class society. They believe in the equal opportunity and economic mobility. The challenging thing here would be to be really independent and task-oriented. Americans are known to be very forthright in speaking about their achievements. They are more spontaneous in their decision-making process, and they offer personal opinions and express disagreement more readily. In context of tasks, they put more importance on reaching their goals and objectives more than focusing on the building relationships. So, to blend into American culture, I need to seek clarification every time when objectives and processes are unclear, take initiative to build conversation and relationship with colleagues and job, and speaking up in meetings and taking initiative to offer opinions or even feedbacks. Moreover, it is very important to establish credibility quickly rather than focusing on relationships. So I should not expect socializing outside the office and respect others' privacy. So I should make really great effort to come from interdependent to independent and being more task-oriented from relationship-oriented. So that would be the challenges for me to work in American culture. So, the most challenging for me would be to work with Japanese people or the American people. The least would be with Indian people because it aligns with my culture somehow, and Germany falls in between, but it's pretty much similar to the American culture in so many aspects.